Hey, welcome back guys. We are headed over to Edgar's. I'm driving there right now. I think we'll go for a quick cruise, maybe mess around a bit, and then we'll continue the build on the Supra. So hope you guys enjoy. Catch you later. This freaking dummy. Hey guys, welcome back. We got a bunch of parts in. I opened some of this already. I wanted to make sure it was what I ordered. I didn't open everything, but I figured we could unbox everything right now and show you what we got for the Supra. The ECU I bought. It's a MS3 Pro. This kind of wire your own plug. I haven't looked at any of the instructions or anything. Vacuum line, cord, tune cable. Obviously, the ECU. This is all plug and place. There's no wiring loom that goes in this. You just basically replace it with what's in there. So it just plugs into the stock connectors, which is really nice. Then we got, these I bought used. They're Super Spark coil packs. They're for high boost applications. Dash 10 fittings. Aeromotive gauge, oil gauge, and we got injectors. Deatschwerks injectors is what I went with, and I went with 1000 cc's. So just gotta get all the pigtails wired in. Some fuel line, and this will handle E85 as well. Fuel filter from Summit Racing. Some more fuel line, and then this came with all the fittings. And then you guys already saw, I believe, this, the Innovate Motorsports wideband. Our new fuel rail, HKS fuel rail. And it came with all the fittings. Here's all the fittings here. And then these two fittings for the new line. I can't remember, they were pretty small though, the ones it came with. And I wanted to make sure we went with 10, dash 10. Man, we got more stuff here. Here's our fuel regulator. This thing is massive. Holy smokes. Same thing, obviously. Bigger fittings there, and then got that internal spring, I guess. I guess all that's left to do is start throwing everything in there. So I guess let's go ahead and get started with all that. All right, let me show you where we're at here. I removed the fuel pump. I'm just trying to see where all these lines are going underneath. I'm trying to figure out how we're gonna modify this hanger. They do sell ones with obviously the bigger fittings, but I'm gonna see if we can just hang on to this one and just modify this one. For now, while I figure out which fittings I'm gonna get, I'm gonna start tearing this apart of the intake, just the top portion, I believe. And that'll expose the fuel rail all through here and make it much easier for access. So let me go ahead and start working on that. So everything's pretty much loose now. I think it's just vacuum lines holding it in place right now. I do want to take it completely off. That way I can clean it all up as well, and it's just easier access to the injectors and all the plugs. So those two bigger lines were actually coolant lines. I don't know if you guys can see them there, but they were just coolant lines. One of them comes through the intake there, and then the other one goes down there. So I just, basically all I needed to do was disconnect these two, then I just gotta take this one off here, and that, because these go in between here, and that should give us the room to pull this out. So here you got your feed on this side, you've got your return off the regulator here. So it's got a fuel pressure regulator here. And then if you guys remember on the IS300, if you haven't watched that video, feel free to go check it out. But there was a little silver thing. It's a fuel pulse dampener is what they are. And this one does have it, but not on the rail. It's actually down on the feed. So it goes from the feed line to the fuel pulse dampener, and then it finishes off here to the fuel rail. All right, I figured I better show you. I did it off camera just because it was a pain to get to, but now that I've got it off, before I take it completely off, I'm gonna show you. So remember the feed line was snaked through here, and you can still see it. I just kind of pushed it down. So there's the feed line here. It was obviously on this end of the rail. I just kind of jammed it down. So it's a hard line to soft line to the fuel dampener, which right there, see that little like yellowish colored thing? So that's the fuel dampener. I undid the two bolts. It's got two 12s. Let's get underneath here and I'll show you. So it's these right here, these fatties. And I was able to do it with the ratchet here. So I had an extension. I fed this in first, then I put the ratchet in once I got it on the bolts, and then just kind of cranked it, and it had enough torque to loosen it. So I broke it loose already. It's this thing right here. So that's where it was, right there. Now I can pull it down because it's soft line again. So it like alternates between hard line and soft line. And then I'm gonna pull it out through here basically. Here's your stock OEM fuel filter. So we're gonna replace this with our aftermarket fuel filter, and then take this out so we can follow our return line and our feed lines through here. Get them nice and tucked in. So let me go ahead and pull this sucker out and I'll show you what I'm doing. All right, so I took this bracket off the old fuel filter. Here's our new fuel filter. And here's the problem is it's quite a bit smaller. So what I was gonna do is I cut some of this hose. I think it's just heater hose. Yeah. Heater hose. We're gonna try this too and see. We'll basically create like an insulation around it and see if that'll press it in there. All right, I finally got it. So all I did was I cut a little piece of heater hose there. I was gonna use two, but it doesn't fit. One piece is enough. And this will be facing towards the back, so you won't be able to see it anyways. And it ain't going anywhere. So that's perfect. Let's go ahead and get some of this put together here. This fuel rail came with its own little grommets there. Oops. The ones they give you are for their fuel rail and their spacers here. So all we have to do is swap them. I already swapped it on one of them. So that's what it looks like that. All we're doing is, there we go. just a lot fatter, so compared to these, and they just fit perfect in these spacers here. That'll give us a better idea of where we're at here. So I think what we'll do is we'll work on getting all the lines routed all the way through. We can finish off and actually, because all this is just mounted on there, it's not tight, nothing's on there tight. We can actually start building the lines. I have the fittings for the fuel pressure regulator here. So that's not how they go. One goes here, the plug goes here, and the return is down here. So we'll get that mounted up correctly. And we should be able to put this thing back together hopefully today. All right, I just finished making the first line here. So this is gonna go from the fuel filter to the fuel rail. So this will go to the fuel filter here. These ABS lines are so tight up against the fuel rail here that it's you can't have the fuel rail bolted in and put this on here because there's no room. So it has to be fed in already, and then you have to put the fuel rail in and then tighten it. So I'm trying to snake it down right now. Alright, it's looking like it's gonna work. It's a tight fit like everything else in here. So I think that's gonna work. Trying to see if I can get the regulator a little straighter. I think what I'm gonna do now is probably start working underneath, since I've got one more line, which is the one that goes under the regulator, and that most likely will be just a straight fitting down, and then I'll work underneath. Once I get everything sorted down there, I'll bring you guys along so you guys can check it out. So we'll see you in a bit. Let me show you where I'm at so far. We're gonna use the stock feed that just goes from here to just right under the tank, at least to get it out of here. Let me see if I can find it. All we have to do basically is, here it is. So that fitting right there, we're gonna have to attach this 10 AM like that, just weld it on there and get rid of this banjo fitting. We're gonna end up using this line here. So this is the original, goes on that banjo bolt, goes down under the tank. Then this is where we're gonna meet up with our 10 AM line there with our new fitting that we're gonna make. And then we still gotta figure out something for the return, which this is what I've got so far, but I haven't really given it much thought yet. So let's go ahead and I'll put that thing together and then I'll show you guys what I'm doing. All right, so here's what I got. Just welded the other end there, and then we're just gonna screw this on here. So this will connect obviously to our 10 AM line. This is the original fitting there, the banjo bolt fitting. So I think we should be good to go there. I used the same bracket for the fuel pump, just that spacer that I showed you guys earlier. You can see it right there. Just a slide back here. Then I got a straight fitting here. We got a 45 here. And it took so long because I was trying to tuck it just where the stock stuff goes, which is in here. I didn't want to drill anything. I wanted to make sure it looked as OEM as possible. So what I had to do though is the little brackets that hold the ABS lines, I had to remove those. I don't know if you guys can see in there. Yeah, so there's no brackets anymore, but everything is tight enough that nothing's gonna rattle or move or anything. So I tucked it all under there, removed the brackets up until here at the end. And normally this has like a curve up like that and it goes all the way up to here, but I had to cut it off right here because these lines aren't flexible enough. So I cut it here straight, kept obviously the bracket there, and then fed the lines through here. Kind of followed the OEM lines, went up through here, and then I left enough for in the future, as you can see there, if we want to bring the 10 AM lines into the fuel hat, we can. The return I was able to get up there and there's enough room for it. This is where it goes. So that's that 14 millimeter. You have to drop that one. And where is the other one? Oh, up here, right there, that gold one. So drop those about, it looks like about an inch, and that'll give you enough clearance to see. You can see daylight up there. That's the trunk. So that's where we fed the return line, and then we used the stock feed line just for this little portion here. You can see right there where I joined them. So that's that little bung I welded onto the other piece there, which is the OEM line. Normally what it does is that rubber up into the tank, and then from there where the bung was, it was on to a hard line, but now it's obviously onto our 10AN line. But it's all tucked away pretty nicely. I left this kind of exposed for right now, just because I want to have easy access in case there are leaks or anything like that. So I'm going to wait to first startup to tuck everything the way it's supposed to. Basically secure it. It's probably going to go pretty close to where it's at now. I want to make sure it's nice and secure. So anyways, thought I'd show you guys that. So everything is pretty well tucked away over here. Here's the last of this. So here's OEM feed. There's our return here. So I ended up, there was a 10AN line or barb there. Tapped the other end. It was just a blank, so it was solid. Tapped the other end with a barb. Sealed it. And this one I didn't weld, I just sealed it. And then we're gonna tap in here with the old little rubber 90 there. So that should get our return. We got our feed. This is our breather. And this is another, I don't know what this is, maybe evap something or something. But anyways, this is pretty well sorted. Once I do get everything sorted, I'll show you there. Now, everything's in place here. We got the fuel pressure regulator in its place. Everything's tight and secured. This is tight and secured. All this is. So all we have to do now is, we got to do the pigtails still for all the injectors. So I got to clip those and do those. Then once we do that, I think we'll be ready to start reassembling. So I guess let's keep going. All right guys, I figured I'd show you what I'm doing here with these, just in case you guys need to do the same. So I bought these on Amazon. I think they were like 10 bucks, but all I'm doing is depinning the injectors. So this normally right here, there's a little white clip right there, and just grab any one of these, really even if you have a pig, and all you're doing is pulling that out. So like that, then you can just grab some pliers and pull it out completely. There's that. That should expose the pins. Now there's two of them and you have to pull them out at the same time, or pull them up at the same time. So this is the one I've been using. It's just a little bit wider, but like I said, you're gonna have to buy the whole kit to get this, because that's what I bought, and it came with 3 different keychains like this. So what you want to do is you want to push in. That way there's no pressure on the clips, because there's 2 hooks basically that you're pushing into the hooks and pulling them up. So you push in, grab those clips, pull up, and then you pull out. And it doesn't always go on the first try, but if you got one of them, then what I would do is grab just another single pick, since one of them's already up, something like this, and then same thing, clip, pull up, and there you go, and it pulls them right out. So all that's basically holding them in is, you see those 2 little holes there? There's these plastic clips that hook into there. So obviously you don't want to be pulling at the same time you're trying to clip these up, because there'll be tension. You want to push in, that'll relieve some stress on there, and it'll get them loose enough to where when you pry and pull up, it'll get them out of the way, and then just pull the clip up, and that'll depin these. So these are pretty easy. I still got to figure out the deatschwerks injectors, how to depin those. All right guys, so I figured out how to depin the deatschwerks injectors, and they fit perfectly on the old wiring, so we don't have to wire anything. So let me show you real quick. So what you want to do is grab something like this that's got some bite on it. You want to squish it in here and then pry out. There's a little clip right there. There you go. So see how that popped out? Because there's a little clip, and I'll show you once I pull that out. There's one in the back too. Whoops. So there's the back one there, that little clip there, and then this is the front one right there. And that's the one you're trying to get to, is just kind of push it over and pry it forward, and that'll get this loose. And then from there, for these, what you want to do is grab one of these keys here that fits right there. So see how that one fits right in between both of these and it slides in? So you're going to push the wires forward a little bit, just a little bit of tension forward, and push in, pry up a little bit. Then when you pry up, you're going to try to pull back. So here, one of them came out. Now we're going to do it again. So there we go. Doesn't take a ton of force. So then with that out, I'll show you what we got to do here. All we have to do is, let's see here, and there's one way to put these in. So remember, there's those little holes on the top of these connectors, which is where these clips go. So just remember the clips, look at it here, and you'll see where the clips are. So they'll go this way. All right, now they're both down. And once you do that, then this should be able to, if this doesn't go in, then that means the clips are not all the way down. So now that it's down, there you go. That locks it in place, and you just plug and play into your injectors there. I believe this one has to be turned. It was upside down, I think, or the original one. But anyways, that's a nice little trick. That way you don't have to wire anything. It'll look OEM, factory. And it just takes a couple tools and you'll be good to go. So let me do the rest of these. Okay, I got everything done here on all the pigtails. We've got them all connected. So everything's plugged in here. Now, I think we're pretty close to reassembling everything. What I want to do though is clean the throttle body, because that's filthy. Clean the outside surface of this, as well as the intake manifold here is pretty filthy as well. So let's go ahead and get all that cleaned up, and then we should be able to get everything thrown back together in here. So yeah, let's go ahead and get this cleaned up. I think all that's left to do is really kind of just go through all the new fittings, make sure they're all tight. Obviously put this back on. But I think other than that, I think we're done with the injector install on the fuel rail. So that's nice to get that out of the way. Obviously the car won't run at this point, but let me get under there, wrap everything up, and then we'll go from there. All right guys, I tightened everything up. I checked everything. I think we're all set. We're done with the fuel injector and fuel rail install on the fuel line and everything. Obviously the fuel regulator. I guess now it's time to move on to the ECU that we got. Let me grab it real quick. And here is our bag of squirt. Right? So we have not wired in our AFR, which I guess we're going to need to do for this. It's the yellow wire that's your signal wire.